I live below a cult leader and I fear I've angered her. They posted this story on Reddit and they also included some audio and video footage. I'm excited. A little scared, but it is spooky season. But I'm excited. You guys, I'm currently uploading and submitting an audition. It's just for a small commercial, so it's nothing too crazy, but I'm sending that off. And while I was getting ready for my audition, I burnt my finger with my curling wand. Oh, okay. Well, it looks like I'm lying. You can't even see it. There's a blister. Can you see it? Hold on. Oh, you can see it. And yes, I'm wearing pajamas because I have to film after this and you guys don't see my bottoms on camera. And I'm always in sweatpants or pajamas. Regardless of what's up top, I'm wearing cozy clothes. Anyways, wish me luck. This story came 3 years ago. I, female 28, have lived in the same apartment for 4 years. My neighbors in the unit above me are a couple in their 30s who have lived there for about 3 years with no issues between us. During the past 6 months, I've noticed some strange changes in their behavior. At first, it was just a few days per week. I would hear music with heavy bass, accompanied by rhythmic jumping. I assumed they bought an exercise bike or something, but sometimes the jumping gets so intense that it shakes my overhead light fixtures. The jumping routine has been escalating to a point that it takes place every day. Normally between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. I also noticed that they called 1-800-JUNK and got rid of a lot of nice possessions. However, I figured none of this was my business, so I kept my observations to myself. About 3 weeks ago, everything escalated. Multiple times per week, on weekdays and during working hours, it sounds like they're hosting a mini Burning Man event in their apartment. The music is so loud and clear that it sounds as if I'm at a concert while sitting in my living room. There's clearly a lot of people involved because the jumping/stomping shakes multiple light fixtures and cabinets. The music is a mix of new age/spiritual vibes, dance beats, and a male voiceover giving weird instructions like rebrand yourself, surrender yourself, and then stomp stomp in response. I've taken audio recordings on my phone and one video from the hallway during these events. I still didn't complain to the building, but I wanted evidence in case it became a regular thing. This week, I've encountered a big problem. The couple above me has a private patio, which is directly above my bedroom. I came home from a 3-day trip out of town yesterday, and my ceiling is legitimately collapsing in one corner. Big chunks of plaster had fallen to the ground and I saw a little water. I immediately called my superintendent since I don't want to be buried alive by ceiling rubble if it gives out. When he came to check it out, he was shocked and pissed. He said that the woman in the couple appears to be working with some people, doing workshops or something. He can see their patio from his apartment building and has watched the group do these dancing/jumping dirt rituals out there on a weekly basis. He said they all dance and jump to the music and they spread dirt, along with something else, but he doesn't know what it is, across the patio on a weekly basis. Oh, they're doing this out on the patio as well. He believes that the dirt plus unknown substance combo is getting through the wooden cracks, absorbing water and then weighing down my ceiling. In order to fix the problem, my super said he had to go talk to the woman, check out their patio, and ultimately hire a contractor to pull up the wood to scrape out whatever the hell is causing my ceiling to fail. To fall. Fail and fall. I could hear them talking from my room and the woman sounded distraught and very defensive. When my super left, he called me and warned me that she might come down to my apartment and demand to see the damage. But don't let her in. This was a little concerning to me. Is she a threat? The damage is real. I wouldn't mind showing her. She started playing her music again, relatively loud, kind of like a warning shot. I mentioned the music and jumping to the super and said that I had audio recordings. He started begging me to send the evidence to the front office. It sounds like he wants them evicted. I said, okay, sure. I hate to be a rat, but if I have to choose sides, I'll side with the building that dictates my annual rent price. He called me twice more that afternoon to confirm that I shared my evidence, and I said yes. Shortly after everything went down, I left my apartment to run an errand. The woman was outside, just standing on the sidewalk, and stared at me the whole time as I walked by. I ignored her. This wasn't my fault. Today, I went to run another quick errand in the neighborhood. When I returned, the couple was again standing on the sidewalk. Both of them this time followed me into the building and then waited until I was opening my apartment door to confront me. They were both wearing creepy fake smiles. The woman has horse girl hair down to her waist and started interrogating me. They asked, "Is your ceiling really collapsing? When did it start? Do you think it was related to the recent rainfall? Because our patio is just fine." I was a little uncomfortable. Were they waiting for me outside? How did they know I even left the building? Why were they both just standing there? I've literally never seen them enter together in their 3 years of living here. But I have nothing to hide, so I confirmed the damage is pretty bad. I just don't want it to fall during winter. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but hopefully the work will be done quickly for everyone's sake. They seemed satisfied enough, so I said, "Have a good day," and I shut my door. I'm getting the sense that they're nervous about what the contractors will find when they tear open the patio. What the F is up with these dirt rituals? Who are these people working with? I don't even know what they like or why they're available to stop around on weekdays. The repair work has started on both sides, but the contractors will come on Wednesday for the grand reveal of what is under the patio that is making my ceiling collapse. In the meantime, I feel like I need to be alert and keep my eyes out for these people, as well as the couple. It's unusual for me to see them in general, especially twice in 2 days. They seem scared and in denial of the problem. They also literally ambushed me. Hopefully, it's over soon. We are going to check out that piece of evidence, the footage of the ceiling and the audio. I love when they bring the evidence. It sounds like someone's jumping on a trampoline. Oh, I hear the music. Okay, that's weird. I was trying to be as quiet as possible so you guys could hear it. You'll definitely hear it better if you put on headphones, because once I had mine, I was like, oh, I can actually hear like the beat of the music. First of all, staring at that ceiling damage, there's no denying the damage. It is very much falling apart, and there's some kind of water or liquid damage. I'm so intrigued where the story is going. We have our first update. The contractors came today and reported that there was in fact dirt and sludge visible below the neighbor's patio. However, thanks to the help of my internet sleuthing friend, I've gained a lot more insight into the realm that dwells above me. As one Redditor suggested, my neighbor is affiliated with multiple ecstatic dance communities, both international and local. The international group has planned events during which all cells of the organization host dance sessions simultaneously. It also has a YouTube channel that streams psytrance music 24/7. I listened to a portion of it, and a female voiceover declared, "You are becoming the game master." Meanwhile, the local groups seem to be more exclusive and more radical in their mindset. One of the local groups, hosted by my neighbor's good friend, conducts 3-day events that cost upwards of $400 for admission. Participation in all 3 days is mandatory. I get the impression that they all sleep in the studio space, and the event description mentions that it begins with a ritual. The last and darkest affiliation that I've confirmed via social media footprints is that my neighbor and a few members of the local communities are also involved with some compassionate death groups. I was going to ask what that meant, but I think it's pretty clear. It's probably just as it sounds. There's no way for me to verify at this time if these affiliations overlap in a meaningful way, so I will simply state the facts that I have evidence to prove. My super asked me about the jumping again when I saw him today. He agreed with my new game plan to wait for another large event to happen and then call him to check on my dishwasher so that he can intervene. So for now, the ways in which the puzzle pieces of ecstatic dance, compassionate death, patio dirt rituals, and ceiling collapse connect will remain a mystery. But of course, we have another update. I have a mix of both terrifying and somewhat encouraging updates to share. On Monday, my super came to replaster my bedroom ceiling. First, he said that my neighbor told the contractors that she has a lot of plants because she makes bush medicines. She's also told him that dancing is part of her professional practice as a healer for people who are in bereavement after the loss of a loved one. So my friend and I weren't far off when we made the connection between her ecstatic dance and compassionate death affiliations. Oh, it's like a group of people who lost loved ones. I was assuming something much darker. I showed him new cracks in my living room ceiling that are growing in size and number by the day. He told me to send videos of the cracks to building management, but management suggested I start with a handwritten note by their door explaining how their behaviors are wreaking havoc on my life. Since the super was working in my apartment, my neighbor was actively bumping music and jumping, I wrote a note in which I requested she reduce the volume of her music and be mindful of the intensity of her activities. I explained that the jumping or dancing was causing significant new cracks in my living room ceiling, and I offered for her to speak with me directly if needed. Ugh, I don't know about that. While I was reluctant to suggest this, I knew she might try another stalking trick if I didn't give her the option up front. So I sent the note. After 90 minutes, my super said he had to leave for an hour while the plaster dried, but he would be back soon. Of course, my neighbor chose the end of this time frame to come down when I was alone. When I opened the door, she again had the biggest fake smile and said, "Hi," then waved the note. First of all, she said, "I want to thank you for your open communication. That is so important and so rare in our city." She admitted that she dances, which she has to do for her mental health, but she claimed that she only dances in the mornings for 30 to 60 minutes, 90 minutes max. I knew she was lying, so I said that her actions are affecting my mental health. She followed up with a range of excuses, including that they have been in the process of rearranging furniture, unpacking boxes, and they sometimes watch movies in the evening with their loudspeakers. I showed her the cracks that were immediately visible from the doorway area. She pointed to one and said, "See, we used to have one table over there, but now we have two due to furniture rearranging. So maybe that's the reason. We also have cracks in our ceiling, and we all have to share this space." I asked her about hosting any large events in the past month, which she flat out denied. She briefly mentioned that she does sessions, but didn't elaborate further. The following suggestion, I later realized, was entrapment. My neighbor said that she would give me her phone number, go upstairs, lower the volume, then I should text her to let her know if I could still hear it. Thankfully, my super came back while she was still in the process of sharing her contact information. She immediately tensed up, quickly gave the number, and then scurried off. As she passed my super, she randomly blurted out, "We're best friends now," referring to me and her. My super and I are both very aware of the antics, so of course he didn't buy this manipulation tactic. I texted her that I couldn't hear her music now, to which she responded, "So glad to hear that. Thanks again for having an open line of communication. I'm always happy to chat. Hope you have a lovely day. Prayer hands and heart emoji." In retrospect, I think she wasn't playing the music at all. I also felt like our conversation was riddled with gaslighting, misdirection, and flat out lies. I was somewhat confused, but I know what I've been experiencing and I have plenty of evidence to prove it. Within hours of the conversation, my neighbors started up the loud music and dancing as if nothing had happened. I was furious. I took new audio recordings and immediately emailed the building management with my new evidence, footage of the ceiling cracks along with a photo of my note. I explained that my neighbor was kind, though somewhat misleading, and expressed interest in accommodating my requests. I also said her behaviors were continuing as normal despite the false claims that she would take my experience into account. The building manager said to keep her updated, but it was clear she assumed the situation would be resolved on its own. Nope. My neighbor continued with the incessant bass-heavy music and jumping shenanigans the next day and the day after. I continued to document everything. On Wednesday evening, I went out for a quick errand and again was victim of the stalking tricks. She ran into me as I was entering the building. She waited until I passed her on the stairwell and then she spoke up. She acknowledged that I've probably still been hearing her activities the past couple of days and that I will continue to hear them for the next few days, all due to rearranging furniture. She said the coffee table had been sold that day. Not true. I was working in my living room all day and would have heard such a commotion in the stairwell. I said yes, I have been hearing her loud music, and clearly. Shortly after this in-person encounter, my neighbor went on to host a party. I heard people in the stairwell who seemed unfamiliar with whose apartment they were even visiting, and one guest introduced herself as a friend of someone else. While the music was much lower, the group began running back and forth overhead. Hearing these strange activities without the music was somewhat creepier than with the music. I took more recordings and retreated to my bedroom. But of course, the group decided to migrate to their patio, which is right above my head. By 10:30 p.m., I had enough. They were no longer dancing, but the group's chatter, along with the ethereal music, it was a female soprano singing vocalizations, was too much. I sent her a text. I explained that I understand she has every right to host guests in her space, but I was confused by the way she said to my face that any excess noise I might hear in the coming days was from rearranging furniture. I said I hear the music and conversations very clearly as the noise filters through my AC unit. I also said to please let me know if they will be hosting events in the future so I'm not caught off guard. While my neighbor didn't respond that night, within minutes of my sending the message, the group began to sing "Happy Birthday" in the most somber way I've ever heard it sung. I was able to record the second half of it. They sang in a monotone, and there was no clapping, no cheering, or any standard signs of merriment that occur after singing the song. Following afternoon, my neighbor sent me a wall of text in which she continued to lie. She said that the gathering was very small, only 4 friends, so it didn't even cross her mind to let me know when she saw me earlier. She also said it was the first time she had hosted more than 2 people over this entire year. I honestly had to laugh at that. She said when she first saw my text, they lowered the music volume and told the friends to quiet down. So she admitted that she saw my message, but made no mention of any birthday affair. As As for the furniture rearranging, she explained that it's been part of a longer-term project and added more lies, like how they just received a dining room table and a bookshelf that they had been waiting for 8 months. Not only would I have seen such large packages in the stairwell, but also why share so much irrelevant information, if being truthful. Finally, my neighbors said that they will be hosting 2 more events next week. Another small gathering of 4 friends next Wednesday in honor of her partner's birthday, and a larger gathering on Friday, again for his birthday. Like I said, she made no mention of singing happy birthday the night before. Who would host 3 birthday parties over 2 weeks? It was all false. She followed up 5 minutes later with a second text that explained she was late to respond because she's been in back-to-back sessions. So I finally had written evidence of her talking about these sessions. I didn't respond to the text. I refused to engage with her or her partner any further. They continued to play music and stomp around that evening. But I had my boyfriend and a friend over who heard everything and validated me that all of this is absolutely maddening. On Friday, I finally called my building manager to explain everything. She needed to understand that something very strange and potentially dangerous is going on above me. Thankfully, I was finally believed. It turns out my building had no idea that she was running some sort of business and hosting group events. I thought they at least had a vague awareness. The building manager said that they would get the attorney involved ASAP to review their lease agreement and pursue action. She asked for all my evidence, including written communications, a personal written of verbal communications, audio recordings, and footage of the ceiling damage. I have been taking videos of the ceiling cracks over the past few weeks to demonstrate how quickly they're growing. I also made a Google folder that divided each category and dated every piece of evidence, and I sent it off. I was so relieved. It felt like some form of action was finally in motion. I assumed the building attorney was working on my case against them over the weekend, so I ignored their relentless music and jumping. But today, Sunday, my neighbors have been hosting yet another gathering since 11:30 a.m. I have been hearing heavy bass, sporadic jumping, and chatting on their patio for 7.5 hours now. I would lose my mind. While I've continued to collect my evidence, I decided to wait until tomorrow to check in with management. Around 5 p.m., I was quietly sitting on my couch when out of nowhere, I heard the door open from above. Someone jogged down and then pounded on my front door. I didn't move a muscle. The person on the other side of the door waited for about a minute. I thought I heard keys jingling, and then they slowly retreated back upstairs and shut the door again. Honestly, I have no idea what's going on now. The music and jumping increased after the knocking incident. Maybe they were testing if I was home, but I'm rattled by how I'm feeling when I'm minding my own business. At the same time, I want to keep laying low to also protect myself. I still have very little information about this group. They're clearly escalating 3 planned events in 1 week, despite any added pressure from everyone around them. Now we're going to listen and watch the new audio and video footage that she compiled. But first, let's hydrate. Take a sip of water or whatever before we listen to this. Cheers. Oh, it's probably some cult. Probably is, especially if they're like charging people and stuff. I've watched a lot of cult documentaries to sniff one out. Oh yeah, those are long cracks. It also looks like there's rippling in the ceiling and the paint. Oh, look how long that crack is. Oh boy. We have the note. I'm gonna read it. Hi neighbors, could you please reduce the music volume and be mindful of your activity intensity? I work from home and I am able to hear the music from my apartment throughout the day. The jumping or dancing is also causing significant new cracks in my living room ceiling. If you'd like to discuss in person or take a look at the cracks, feel free to stop by my apartment. Thank you. All the best. Name. Well, that was very nice and pleasant. Now we have the final update. Tuesday evening, my boyfriend and I were making dinner when we began to hear a standard outburst of stomping and clomping overhead. While I've continued to document these incidents since building management promised to pursue legal action, I've also tried to block out some of the sounds for the sake of my own mental health. My boyfriend pointed out the shenanigans from above. He was genuinely startled, to which I replied, "I told you, it's maddening." About 15 minutes after the upstairs settled down, my flimsy front doorbell rang. I crept over to look through the peephole and I cringed. My neighbors were on the other side of the door, standing like statues with hands behind their backs and heads cast down. Their determined stance signaled that there was no way they would leave until I answered. If I chose to ignore, I know that they would either return, send a text, or stalk me on the street again. Since my boyfriend was present, I figured this confrontation was the safest option. So I waved him over with fear in my eyes that conveyed all he needed to know. When I opened the door, there were no fake smiles. However, in typical fashion, my neighbors began the conversation with a misdirection. "I just wanted to check in with you since you never responded to my text," the woman said. "Was there something in the language or..." Keep in mind, our final text exchange had been over 2 weeks prior, so I knew that was not the point of their visit. I told her the language was fine, I just didn't know what to say. From there, the gaslighting and denial campaign took off in full swing. I told my neighbors we had just heard commotion minutes before their arrival, which elicited reactions of pure shock. "We were just drinking tea," and then they chuckled. "Yeah, we were just sitting on the couch drinking tea." The rest of the conversation went similarly. Every statement I made was returned with expressions of bewilderment as if they thought I was speaking in tongues, and every response was riddled with lies. At one point, the woman said, "I think that we should resolve this right now," while undulating her arms toward herself, then my direction. It looked like she was attempting to send energy waves towards me. "How about this?" she proposed. "How about one of you, motioning at my boyfriend with both arms open, come up to our apartment right now and walk around," swirling her finger in a clockwise circle above our heads. I could tell she really wanted to invite herself into my apartment, but she sensed that wasn't an option given my stoic demeanor throughout the entire pandering episode. I told her no, we were making dinner when they interrupted. At this point, my neighbors finally admitted why they had come. They said they had received a letter that was aggressive and eluded additional wild accusations. The guy asked point blank, "Did you involve the building?" I told them I did because I was confused that they had not listened to my requests. I also said that I genuinely don't know what the letter says. The building management told me to tell them that it was in the hands of management now. With that, both members of the couple said, "Okay." I said, "Okay," and they awkwardly retreated upstairs. I shut the door, heart racing. I was so glad that my boyfriend was present to witness the gaslighting and also validate me. Every time I interact with them, I'm left confused as to what was even said. Within 10 minutes of the confrontation, I received a call from my super. He said that the couple called him and asked, "What is going on?" And he said, "I don't know, I'm just the super." They asked to schedule a meeting with him. He declined. The following day, it was clear that the neighbors were not happy. The woman moved their speaker plus subwoofer, yes, they admitted that they have a subwoofer in their apartment, back into their living room and bumped it so loud that glasses on my bar cart were tinking together rhythmically. I emailed the building manager with videos of the repaired ceiling, mentioned the confrontation, and attached a couple audio recordings of the jumping I had taken amid writing the note. After the increase in music and jumping on Wednesday and Thursday, I noticed a stark change on Friday. I started to hear commotion as if the couple was either soundproofing their entire unit or in the act of moving. I heard items being dragged, loud bangs, and a power drill. The moving style activities continued throughout the weekend, including Sunday morning when I saw a professional cleaner working in the building's stairwell. Of course, they would not be evicted at the drop of a hat. However, I think it's possible that the letter angered the couple enough to make an arrangement with the building. If they leave on their own terms, they won't be penalized for breaking the lease. But the neighbors are still here, obviously, but in the meantime, my Ring camera arrived. I'll be installing it outside my door this afternoon, which will give me a better sense of what's happening. When I woke up this morning, I immediately heard some of my overhead light fixtures shaking as the neighbors danced to music with hand drums, plus a singer shouting in a foreign language. So my torture continues, but signs point to a peaceful, or at least a peace-restoring resolution on the horizon. Are you sure? I don't know about that. This is giving possible cult vibes, right? People are going to sessions, they're paying money, the dirt rituals. I don't know, but I don't like it. Let me know your thoughts, you guys. Stay classy out there, stay sassy, and I'll see you tomorrow.